Occupying an area of more than 850 acres, Bradgate is the largest and most popular country park in the whole of Leicestershire. As well as providing superb scenery and a haven for wildlife, Bradgate is steeped in history and deeply immersed in legend. The park is located in the borough of Charnwood, just a few miles to the northwest of Leicester. Its main entrance is in the village of Newtown Linford. Although it suffers a bit from too many tourists in the height of the summer, the charm of Newtown Linford is very well preserved. The main gate of Bradgate Park gives access to the steep-sided valley of the River Lynn, an area known as Little Matlock. This is the most popular part of the park. 1.5 million people visit the park every year, and if you come to this lower part of the park on summer weekends and busy bank holidays, you could be excused for thinking they've all decided to come on the same day. At quieter times, the valley of the River Lynn is a very beautiful and tranquil spot. These weirs and pools are designed to aerate the water and collect silt. They're also very popular with the resident waterfowl. They were built at the same time as Cropston Reservoir, into which the river flows at the northeast corner of the park. Cropston Reservoir was opened in 1870, one of several built to supply water to Leicester and the surrounding area during the Industrial Revolution. As the road and river emerge from Little Matlock, we get our first sight of the impressive ruins of Bradgate House. Bradgate was part of the manor of Gruby, which came into the hands of the Grey family when Reginald Grey married Elizabeth Ferrers in 1427. In 1490, following one of the more turbulent times in British history, Thomas Grey began the construction of Bradgate House. Built in brick, it was very modern for the late 15th century. These drawings show the house as it was around 1700. Not long after this, in the mid to late 1700s, the house fell into disrepair and became derelict. It was bought from the Greys by Charles Benyon in 1928 and presented to the people of the city and county of Leicester. The house is best known as the childhood home of Lady Jane Grey, who was Queen of England for 9 days in the year 1553. She was imprisoned in the Tower of London for treason and beheaded in February 1554. She was just 16. Legend has it that when news of Lady Jane's beheading reached Bradgate, the woodsman cut off the tops of the park's oak trees. True or not, these ancient oaks are one of the lasting features of Bradgate Park, and some of them are old enough to have been young trees during Lady Jane's lifetime. One of the reasons why the trees of Bradgate have lived for so long is that the tops have been cut at regular intervals to produce crops of poles. This act of cropping above the height of grazing deer is called pollarding, and no doubt gives rise to the legends of sympathetic beheading in 1554. Anyway, you can read all about this in the visitor centre, located a little way further to the east along the Park Road. One of the most popular landmarks in the whole of Charnwood Forest is the Bradgate Folly, known as Old John. One of the park's main focal points, and visible from many places within and around the park, Old John was built in the 1780s, supposedly to commemorate the accidental death of a popular family retainer. This is yet another of Bradgate's legends, so believe it or not. The path to Old John from the Newtown Linford car park gives some insight into the volcanic heritage of this part of Leicestershire. The land shape and the tortured rock formations that become more obvious as you climb reveal the turbulent formation of this landscape. The War Memorial, sitting as it does on the crest of this high ridge at the top of the park, is as prominent as Old John itself. The memorial remembers those Leicestershire yeomen who lost their lives in 2 world wars. On a clear day, the stunning views across the park and surrounding countryside make this climb well worth the effort. Then a final push brings us to Old John itself. This toposcope, presented by the villagers of Newtown Linford from the proceeds of their Lady Jane Grey pageant in 1953, gives the direction and distance to other prominent landmarks. It is not known for certain how long there has been a deer park at Bradgate. Earliest records date to 1241, but it seems likely to have been much earlier. It is known that following the Norman conquest, William gave land in the area to his fellow invaders, and this could well have been the birth of the Bradgate Deer Park. Deer hunting became ever more popular, and during the Middle Ages there were hundreds of deer parks in England, including about 50 in Leicestershire. Deer parks were looked after by parkers, whose job it was to make sure that there were always deer available to hunt, for food and for sport. Hunting for food may be one thing, but how can you even consider hunting these beautiful creatures for sport? Deer hunting with a video camera brings its own challenges. Deer are quite good at camouflage, until some involuntary movement gives them away. They're also timid and will bolt at the least provocation. But if you're patient and considerate, they will accept your presence and will pose without fee. Not to be missed is the red deer rutting season in October-November. Red deer stags are proud and aggressive, and it is quite something to see them protecting their hinds from other stags and marking out their territory. The stags get very excited at this time of year, while the hinds play hard to get. The deer have a protected area to the south side of the River Lynn, where the hinds give birth and introduce their young to the big outside world, and of course they take full advantage of it. The beauty of Bradgate is clear to see. No matter how crowded it gets, It isn't hard to get away from the crowds and enjoy as much peace and solitude as you might seek. Long may it last.